Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. Brook Lynn must confront her failing marriage after Ned suffers a heart attack. Ned Quartermaine's life is hanging in the balance, and the Quartermaine family is rallying around the hospital waiting for news of whether their whole world is soon to be turned upside down. But few will feel the threat of this loss the same way that Brook Lynn Quartermaine will. Waiting on news of whether she is about to lose her father is going to put her through the ringer. As she leans on Harrison Chase for support, it might help bridge the gap between husband and wife right now as this couple straddles the chasm created by Michael Corinthos and Willow Tate. But rumor has it Olivia Quartermaine may be the one to shed some light on how Brook Lynn is currently looking at her hubby, and it may not be the way we think. Chase is a stand-up guy. Brook Lynn and Chase were fighting over their disagreement regarding Michael and Willow just before Brook Lynn learned that her father had suffered a heart attack. Michael has done well in his custody case and is now doing even better in the shooting of Drew Kane. But Chase has jumped on board Team Willow, and he's growing more angry with Michael with each passing day. By the time she read him the riot act, Brook Lynn was already starting to soften toward her husband. She might not agree with Chase that Willow is innocent, or that Michael framed her, but she still loves her husband's devotion to helping the people he cares about. If Chase stays by her side throughout this struggle with Ned's health, they may have smooth sailing, but if he can't help but be distracted by Willow, new problems could arise. Willow could stir the pot. Willow just got released on bail, thanks to Alexis Davis, and she's going to make certain that she pays it forward to Chase for all of his help. He has been showing up for Willow in ways that no one else has, including Drew, acting as a citizen with something to complain about outside of law enforcement. It was clear from their interactions when Chase came to visit Willow in jail that she was feeling a little too grateful to him. With a history like hers, it won't be long before Willow is conflating her gratitude with love. Will that throw a wrench into Brook Lynn's peace treaty with Chase when she's in such a vulnerable space and worrying about the outcome of her father's bypass surgery? Ned is no saint. Brook Lynn could start to question her husband's faithfulness soon, and it might lead her to think back on similar mistakes her father has made in the past. Will Olivia and Ned's marriage serve as a testament to her that she and Chase can make it through anything that lies ahead, or will the sense of betrayal of coming second to Willow's plight in her own time of need send Brook Lynn reeling? Until now, she hasn't been too concerned that Chase's commitment to helping Willow means anything more than him helping a friend, but seeing the two of them together could paint a very different picture. Who needs Chase more right now? Can Brook Lynn hold on to her marriage even when she thinks Chase might let it go because of the strength of her family and her awareness of how short and fragile life is as Ned teeters on the edge? Ned Quartermaine's sudden heart attack sends shockwaves through Port Charles, but no one feels the impact more deeply than his daughter, Brook Lynn, whose entire world narrows to the sterile hallways of the hospital as she braces for news that could shatter her. For years, she has clashed with her father and fought to earn his respect. But beneath all the arguments and misunderstandings lies a bond that has defined every part of her life. Now, as Ned lies unconscious and fighting for survival, Brook Lynn is forced to confront a terrifying truth: the man she spent so long trying to understand may be slipping away before she ever gets the chance to truly reconcile with him. Surrounded by the anxious hum of the Quartermaine clan, she feels a growing dread that her father's brush with death could become the catalyst that exposes the cracks in her own marriage, cracks she can no longer ignore. Leaning on Harrison Chase, her husband and the man she has fought and loved in equal measure, provides her comfort, but not clarity, and certainly not certainty. Their marriage has been strained by the mess Michael Corinthos and Willow Tate created, a mess that Chase refuses to step away from no matter how deeply it invades the privacy of their union. Brook Lynn sees clearly the divide between them widening, one argument at a time, as Chase's devotion to Willow continues to supersede the needs of his own wife, leaving her questioning not just his priorities but his heart. Rumor has it that Olivia Quartermaine, always the emotional barometer of the family, may soon reveal to Brook Lynn a truth that could alter how she views Chase entirely, something about the way she's been interpreting her husband's loyalty, something that suggests her instincts may be far from the full story. Chase has always been a stand-up guy, a man who acts from principle first and questions later, but on the morning before Ned's collapse, that very righteousness is what sent him and Brook Lynn spiraling into another argument. Their disagreement over Michael and Willow boiled over, fueled by Chase's growing frustration with Michael's manipulations, not just in his custody battle but now in the emerging questions surrounding Drew Kane's shooting. While Michael continues positioning himself advantageously, seeking control over the narrative swirling around him, Chase has planted himself firmly on Team Willow. Every new revelation only intensifies his anger, and Brook Lynn has felt that heat directed at her more often than she can bear. She does not agree with Chase's unwavering insistence that Willow is innocent, nor does she believe Michael orchestrated Willow's downfall, but despite her frustration she has found herself softening toward her husband. She loves that Chase fights fiercely for the people he cares about. It's part of what made her fall for him in the first place. Still, devotion has its limits when it begins to overshadow the family they have built together. If Chase can remain by her side, truly present, as Ned lies in critical condition, perhaps the couple can find their way back to each other. But if his focus continues to drift toward Willow, even during Brook Lynn's darkest hour, resentment may begin to settle so deeply that their marriage will struggle to recover. Meanwhile, Willow Tate has just been released on bail, thanks to Alexis Davis swooping in to handle the legal chaos surrounding her case. Willow is determined to show appreciation to Chase for everything he has done, for being her advocate, her supporter, and the one person who consistently shows up for her without fail, something even Drew cannot claim. Chase has been operating in a gray zone, half cop, half concerned citizen, driven as much by his sense of justice as by his need to protect Willow from being buried alive by lies she insists she didn't tell. Their dynamic has already begun to shift. When Chase visited Willow in jail, there was a tenderness in her gratitude, a softness, an emotional weight, that signaled a dangerous change. Willow, with her painful history of confusing emotional support with something deeper, is at risk of conflating her gratitude with affection, perhaps even believing she is falling for him all over again. If that happens, and if Brook Lynn senses even the slightest hint of misplaced affection from Willow toward her husband, the fragile truce she has crafted with Chase will crumble instantly. The timing could not be worse. Brook Lynn is in a vulnerable place, balancing hope and despair as she prays for her father's survival while trying to navigate the strain within her marriage. The last thing she needs is Willow unknowingly, or knowingly, complicating things further. Ned's condition forces Brook Lynn to face another hard truth. Her father has made his own share of mistakes, especially in his relationship with Olivia. Their marriage has survived more storms than most, and Brook Lynn has always admired their ability to stand firm even when betrayal tested them. But as she waits for news of Ned's bypass surgery, she can't help wondering whether she and Chase are made of the same resilience. Could her marriage truly withstand the pressure? Or is she simply repeating the patterns she grew up watching, constantly living in the shadow of emotional complexities, always worrying whether love will be enough to drown out fear, insecurity, and unresolved grievances? Brook Lynn has never doubted Chase's intentions before, but as she watches him navigate the chaos surrounding Willow, she begins to question whether she will always come second to another woman's pain. She has pushed aside her discomfort for months now, telling herself that Chase is simply helping a friend, that nothing deeper is brewing beneath the surface. But now, as she envisions a future where Ned might not be around to guide her, support her, or even challenge her, she is forced to confront her own fears that Chase's unwavering commitment to Willow might not be as selfless, or as platonic, as she once believed. And seeing them together, even in innocent moments of compassion, could shatter whatever confidence she has left. As Ned's life hangs by a thread, Brook Lynn realizes that mortality brings clarity in ways nothing else can. Families fracture and heal, marriages bend and break, and love, real love, must survive the moments that threaten to destroy it. The Quartermaine strength she has always been proud of pulses through her veins, urging her to hold on, to fight for her marriage even when everything feels uncertain. She wants to believe that the fear of losing Ned will remind Chase of the fragility of life, of the importance of loyalty, of the necessity of being truly present for the person he vowed to love. She wants to believe they can rebuild, that they can weather this storm the way her parents always did. But part of her wonders whether Chase is already slipping away, whether his attention is drifting toward Willow at the very moment she needs him most. In the end, the question that burns the deepest is the simplest one: who needs Chase more right now, his wife, who is terrified of losing her father and her marriage in the same breath, or Willow, who may be confusing her own desperation with something resembling love. And as Brook Lynn stands at the intersection of heartbreak and hope, she knows that the outcome of Ned's fight for survival may determine whether her own marriage lives or dies alongside him. The emotional weight pressing down on Brook Lynn only intensifies as the hours drag on, each minute stretching into an eternity while Ned remains in surgery. The rhythmic beeping of hospital monitors, the hushed conversations of doctors passing through corridors, and the tension radiating from every member of the Quartermaine family blend into a suffocating haze that she can barely push through. Brook Lynn has always prided herself on being resilient, on inheriting the Quartermaine grit that her grandmother once told her was stronger than steel, but nothing prepared her for the icy grip of fear that tightens around her chest every time the surgical doors swing open. Her father, infuriating and complicated as he is, represents a pillar in her life, one she realized too late she has leaned on far more than she ever acknowledged. And now, as she flounders emotionally, she clings to Chase's hand like a lifeline, terrified of what the world will look like if Ned doesn't wake up. Yet even in this vulnerable moment, her grip on Chase is troubled by an unspoken tension. It's the kind of tension that grows silent roots, buried beneath stress, beneath fear, beneath years of love interrupted by secrets and betrayals and the chaos of the lives they've chosen. Every time Chase's phone vibrates, every time he glances at the screen, Brook Lynn notices. Every time his brow furrows or he steps aside to respond quietly, she feels a small sting of insecurity, an echo of doubt she has tried so hard to push away. She knows Willow has just been released on bail. She knows Chase is deeply invested in helping her. But knowing doesn't make it hurt any less. And it certainly doesn't make her feel any less alone in the moments when she needs her husband more than ever. As Olivia paces the floor, wringing her hands while muttering prayers under her breath, Brook Lynn watches her stepmother with a strange mixture of admiration and sorrow. Olivia has loved Ned fiercely, even through his mistakes, even through his misguided loyalties, even through the heartbreaks they inflicted on each other. She fought to keep their family together when it would have been easier to walk away. Brook Lynn wonders if she has that same strength inside her. Could she love Chase with that same unwavering resolve if circumstances push them to the brink? Could she forgive him if his connection with Willow crosses a line, even unintentionally? The uncertainty twists her stomach into knots. When Chase finally returns to the waiting area after taking yet another call, Brook Lynn sees the concern etched across his features. He starts to speak, but she cuts him off gently, too exhausted for another argument. She tells him she understands that he's helping Willow, that he feels responsible for her, that he wants justice for what happened to her. But inside, she doesn't understand, not really. Because in this moment, while her father is fighting for his life, she wants to feel like the most important person in her husband's world. Instead, she can't shake the feeling that she's sharing him with someone else, someone who always seems to need him more urgently. Chase reaches for her, grounding her with the sincerity in his voice, assuring her that she is his priority, that nothing, not Willow, not Michael, not anything, means more to him than her. She wants to believe him. She truly does. But the quiet doubt, the kind that slips through cracks in the heart when love is tested by emotional storms, whispers that loving someone doesn't always mean putting them first. Especially not when Chase is the kind of man who ties his self-worth to protecting people, even at the cost of his own marriage. As the night grows deeper, more Quartermaines arrive, Lois, Dylan, Tracy, each bringing their own brand of chaos, grief, and worry. Tracy, in particular, wastes no time launching into her trademark tirades about incompetence, poor communication, and the fragility of life. Brook Lynn tries to take comfort in her grandmother's familiar fire, but even Tracy's sharp-edged resilience does little to ease her anxiety. Seeing her family fall apart in the waiting room makes everything feel even more real, more terrifying. If Ned doesn't pull through, who will hold this fractured family together? Somewhere between the emotionally draining hours, Olivia pulls Brook Lynn aside. Her eyes are soft, swollen from crying, her voice low and trembling. She tells Brook Lynn something she has never confessed before, something that changes the way Brook Lynn views her marriage. Olivia admits that when she and Ned were first struggling, she often interpreted Ned's loyalty to others as a lack of love for her. She mistook his desire to fix everyone else's problems for a disinterest in fixing their relationship. But with time, she learned that Ned's heart was simply too big, too divided among family members who constantly needed him. She tells Brook Lynn that she sees the same flaw in Chase, not unfaithfulness, not emotional betrayal, but a need to stretch himself too thin for the sake of others. Olivia urges her stepdaughter not to confuse overstretched devotion with misplaced affection. Brook Lynn absorbs every word, but her chest still tightens. Because as comforting as Olivia's perspective is, it doesn't erase her fears. It doesn't silence the image of Willow looking at Chase with gratitude that may be transforming into something deeper. It doesn't silence the way Chase rushes to help Willow at a moment's notice. And it doesn't silence the part of Brook Lynn that wonders if she is destined to become another woman waiting quietly in the background while her husband saves someone else. Meanwhile, Willow is spiraling. Every breath she takes outside the walls of the jail feels too heavy, too filled with guilt and uncertainty. She is terrified of what awaits her, terrified of losing Wiley, terrified of being convicted, terrified of Michael's icy detachment and the way he seems determined to make her look like the villain in her own nightmare. And standing at the center of her emotional chaos is Chase, the one person who makes her feel seen, understood, and protected. He is the one steady presence in a world that feels like it's collapsing around her. And that steadiness, that warmth, that unwavering loyalty, it is starting to feel like hope. Dangerous hope. When Willow sits alone in her small apartment, replaying every moment Chase has sacrificed for her, every conversation where he has defended her, every time he has shown up even when the rest of the world didn't, something inside her shifts. She tries to push the feeling down. She reminds herself that Chase is married. That he loves Brook Lynn. That she owes him nothing more than gratitude, friendship, and respect. But emotions rarely obey logic, and Willow's heart is fragile in ways she doesn't fully understand. And fragile hearts often fall into the arms of the person who feels safest. As the hours pass, Willow grows increasingly anxious. She texts Chase updates, reassurances that she is okay, apologies for bothering him. She doesn't know Ned is in surgery, Chase hasn't told her yet. When she finally learns the truth through Alexis, she panics, horrified at the thought that she has been drawing Chase away from his wife during a family crisis. But even then, even in her guilt, she feels a pull toward him, a need to hear his voice, to make sure he's okay, to express how much she appreciates everything he's done. And that emotional dependency threatens to spill over into something neither of them intended. Back at the hospital, Brook Lynn's emotional state continues to unravel. The waiting room grows colder. The lights dim. The sense of dread becomes almost unbearable. She starts replaying moments with her father, wondering what she would say if she gets the chance to speak to him again. Would she apologize for the arguments? Would she confess that she still needs him, even as an adult? Would she tell him she wishes she could go back and hold on to the moments she took for granted? Her heart aches with regret, a regret that feels raw and suffocating. Chase watches her closely, torn between wanting to support her and wanting to fix everything. But he cannot fix this. He cannot save Ned. He cannot erase Brook Lynn's fear. And he cannot stop the brewing storm between Willow and Michael, a storm that threatens to drag him back into the center of their drama. His phone buzzes again, another text from Willow. He hesitates before silencing the device. Brook Lynn notices. She doesn't say anything, but the crack in her expression says enough. The surgical doors finally open, and the doctor steps out with a tired, grave expression that instantly roots everyone in place. The silence becomes suffocating. Olivia grips Brook Lynn's arm. Tracy steps forward, her breath catching. Chase places a steadying hand on Brook Lynn's back, but even his presence can't stop her knees from weakening. The doctor begins to speak. What he says will change everything. But the truth is, whether Ned survives or not, Brook Lynn's life has already shifted. Mortality has forced her to look at her marriage, her fears, her uncertainties with painful clarity. Willow's freedom and Chase's loyalty have created emotional landmines that cannot be ignored. And the questions weighing on Brook Lynn's heart are heavier than ever. Can she trust her husband? Can she trust Willow? Can their marriage survive if Chase's attention continues to drift? And will Ned, her anchor, her frustration, her father, wake up to guide her through the hardest chapter of her life? For now, there are no answers. Only fear, hope, and the quiet understanding that nothing in Port Charles will ever be the same again.